Hey guys, how's everyone doing? It's Miss Biesel here. I wanted to give y'all a lesson today about the Princess Mouse. It's a Finnish folk tale. I'm so excited to read you this story, and I hope you'll be excited to hear it. Today, I want to talk about humility. Do you remember what humility is? Humility means placing others before ourselves and not bragging or promoting ourselves. It means doing our best because it's our best and not because we receive praise or recognition. As I read, I want you to think about what humility means and how it's rewarded in the story. Let's begin. The Princess Mouse. Once there were two brothers who were sons of a farmer. As they grew, it was time for them to marry. Their father said, "Boys, you have come of age, and it is time for each of you to find a wife." The younger son, Mikko, listened with honor and respect to his father. The older son haughtily replied, "I know, father. It's time for us to marry." And the father said, "In our family, we have our own way of choosing a bride." The father nodded and told them that they must walk in the direction that a tree pointed until they found their sweetheart. That was the tradition they would follow. The older son already had a sweetheart and also knew how to cut a tree to make it fall in the direction he wanted. That was his plan. So the brothers had to cut down a tree in the direction that the tree fell was how they got to choose who they would marry. Mikko did not have a sweetheart, so he thought he would try to cut down a tree and aim it towards town. However, when he cut down a tree, it did not land towards the town but pointed towards the forest. His older brother laughed and teased him. "Oh, Mikko, maybe you will find a fox or a bear to marry." Mikko ignored his brother's jests and went walking in the direction his tree pointed. Mikko walked and walked. He walked for hours through the forest, and he could not find a single soul. Just as he was about to give up, he saw a little cottage. The cabin was deserted. As he turned to leave, he said, "I guess this was a waste of my time." Suddenly he heard a small voice say, "Maybe not." He turned back to see who had spoke. On the table was a little furry mouse. "Did you say something?" he asked the mouse. The mouse replied, "Why don't you tell me your name and what you are looking for?" Mikko, a respectful young man, felt the polite thing to do was answer, even if it was a little mouse talking. He said, "My name is Mikko, and I am looking for my sweetheart." The mouse said, "I'll be your sweetheart." "But you're only a mouse." "Mice can still be special, and I can still love you faithfully, Mikko. Come feel my soft fur." Mikko felt her fur with one finger, and it felt like velvet. She sang to him while he petted her fur. Mikko had found no one else, and she was a wonderful little mouse. "All right," he said, "you can be my sweetheart." "You won't be sorry," said the little mouse. Mikko wasn't sure about that, but as he kept stroking her velvet fur and smiled. Mikko returned home to his father and brother. His brother was proudly boasting of his sweetheart with golden hair and rosy cheeks. When Mikko came to the door without a bride, he began to laugh and asked, "Where is your sweetheart, Mikko? Did you not find one with a nice fur coat?" Mikko didn't want to admit his sweetheart was a mouse, so he just told them that his sweetheart had a nice coat of velvet like a princess. His brother stopped laughing. The father then told the boys they would need to ask their sweetheart to weave a cloth to test their skills. The next morning, the boys set out to their sweethearts to give them the request. When Mikko reached the cabin, the little mouse jumped up and down, squealing, "Mikko, Mikko, you're here! Is today the day of our wedding?" "No, it's not," Mikko replied. He stroked the little mouse fur and explained, "My father has asked that our sweethearts weave a cloth to test their skill, but you are only a mouse. How can you weave any cloth?" "I may be only a mouse, but I'm also your sweetheart. You must be tired from your journey, Mikko. Take a rest." The mouse sang, and Mikko fell asleep. As soon as he was in a deep sleep, the little mouse clapped her soft paws. Hundreds of mice appeared from holes and cracks in the walls. She ordered them to find and bring pieces of the finest flax. The mouse scurried and came back with threads of flax. They all worked together on the weaving machine to make the cloth out of flax. They stuffed the fabric into a nutshell when they had finished. The mice scurried away as Meeko woke. The little mouse gave the nutshell to Meeko and sent him back to his father. When Meeko returned home, his father was looking over the cloth his brother's sweetheart had made. Nice. That's strong and fairly even. Good enough for simple folk like us, said the father. Meeko shyly handed his father the nutshell. His brother burst out laughing. You asked for a cloth, and your sweetheart gave you a nutshell. Ha! Meeko felt embarrassed. The father opened the nutshell and looked closely inside, and he saw a piece of cloth made of the finest linen. As he pulled it out, it kept coming. Yard by yard, they were all astonished, especially Meeko. Surely Meeko has found the finest weaver for a sweetheart. Go fetch your sweethearts, and tomorrow you will both be married. The next morning, Meeko went back to the cabin. The little mouse saw him and squealed, Meeko, is today the day of our wedding? Sadly, Meeko said, Yes, but I'm about to marry a mouse. Everyone will laugh at me. The mouse responded, You're right, Meeko. Everyone will laugh, but that doesn't matter. What do you think? Meeko thought how the little mouse loved him and cared for him. He responded, Let them laugh. You are a fine sweetheart. The little mouse clapped her paws, and 4 rats came out, pulling a nutshell carriage. Meeko placed his sweetheart in the carriage as though she were a queen. Off the rats ran as the little mouse sang her happiness. Meeko ran after them to catch up. He was filled with excitement, for even though he knew he would be mocked for his choice, the little mouse would be good and kind wife for him, and he respected her for his virtue. They arrived at the spot near the river where the brothers were to have their weddings. As the mouse pulled up to the spot, Meeko's brother saw him. He was outraged. He swiftly kicked the rats and mouse into the river. What have you done? Meeko yelled, distraught as he watched the carriage disappear. Are you crazy? It was a mouse, his brother yelled. You have killed her. She was really my sweetheart, and I loved her. Meeko went to attack his brother, but the shouts of his father stopped him. Meeko, look! Everyone turned and looked down the river as 4 black horses and a carriage emerged from the water. The people gasped in astonishment as the horses rode up to the spot where Meeko was. A beautiful princess stepped down from the carriage and asked, Meeko, aren't you going to help me down? Meeko was stunned. Were you the little mouse? Smiling, the princess said, I was. An evil witch cast a spell on me, and the only way it could be broken was to have one brother that wanted to marry me and one brother that wanted to kill me. Meeko's father gave them a grand wedding. When Meeko and his bride returned to the cabin in the woods, it was no longer a cabin but a castle with hundreds of servants. Later, when Meeko and the princess had sons, can you guess how they chose their brides? That is the Finnish story of humility. What is the opposite of humility? What do you think? I think it's pride. What character in the story do you think acted in humility, and which character acted in pride? Meeko and his brother had very different ways of reacting, but Meeko was willing to put aside his pride and act in humility. His humility was rewarded by the gift of a lovely, kind princess. I hope you enjoyed this story. Tell me your favorite part in the comments below. If this story inspires you to draw a picture, send it to me on email, and I will share it with your friends on Facebook. Bye guys, have a great day.